Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the show. This is another traveling show, and honestly, I was a bit nervous to record this. I had the idea a few months ago that I wanted to sit down with my mother and have a chat to her. As some of you may know, just over 18 months ago, my mum was diagnosed with cancer. Since then, things have been up, down, and a little bit around, as I'm sure you can imagine. But what's remained in my mum is her spirit and her willingness to always have a conversation. So I had a feeling that she would say yes to me putting a mic on her and setting up some cameras and sitting with her for, this one was a little bit over an hour, asking her questions. But I was a little bit, I guess, nervous, apprehensive. I didn't know if she'd really feel comfortable. But as you will see, and hopefully you'll agree with me, she was an absolute champion. We sat in our living room after I'd surprisingly turned up to her in York. We sat in the living room and we just had a pretty awesome chat for an hour, which I think she actually enjoyed. I'm not sure if she wants to come for round two, but let's see. I was able to ask her questions that I think most of them I've asked before, but it's always different when you have a mic on and there's a camera there. And some of the things that she said, some of the memories that she jogged me with, and the way that she said a lot of stuff have definitely served me in a way. It's helped me to probably to connect a lot of dots, and it's made me think about a lot of different things. I hope, and this sounds really selfish, this show, I hope that you get something from this show as well. And I hope that if you get this opportunity to sit down with a parent or with a loved one, maybe it will take having to mic them up and put a camera in their face. But I just hope that at some stage you would have the privilege of having the conversation I had with my mum. I do hope that it's of value to the listeners, to you guys. I appreciate all the support, and Mum appreciates all the support and messages that you guys have sent to us over the last 18 months. And as you can probably tell by her spirit in this show, she'll keep on fighting. This week's show announcements are, as you may see if you're watching the video version, brought to you from Iten, Kenya, the home of champions and some of the fastest runners in the world. It is an amazing place, and we've been here for a week, learning, running, and basically getting very tired. The third year we've been here, an amazing experience, and we're looking forward to bringing things that we've picked up here and things that maybe we're incubating back to the show and also back to Dubai. For the announcements this week, there is only one, which is the training experience. You might have seen it advertised already. This is a project led by Toby Buckland, which is all about getting people ready for competitive fitness, no matter what level or no matter what event that might be. He'll be focusing on specific skills, breaking down gymnastics pieces such as pull-ups, muscle-ups, chest to bars, handstand push-ups, walking on your hands. You still with me? Then he'll move into weightlifting, the snatch, clean and jerk, strategizing workouts, how to prepare yourself mentally for a workout. This is a 5-session series, 5 different training experiences, which basically last the most part of a Saturday. There's a morning session, then also an afternoon session, and the first one kicks off on the 19th of November. They're all hosted at InnerFight in Dubai. If you want to fly in for them, that would be fantastic. If you want to attend 1, 2, or all 5 of them, you can pick and choose. Give Toby a shout, tb@innerfight.com. He will tell you all about them, but the first one kicks off on the 19th of November. Let's jump into today's show. This is episode number 854 of the InnerFight podcast. Life with Mum. Enjoy the show.
Mother!
What?
You're excited to talk to me.
Well, I talk to you all the time.
Let's start. Where do we start, Mum?
I have no idea. You tell me where to start.
Ireland. You were born in Ireland.
I was born and brought up in Ireland. I was born in 1945.
1945. If
April.
people do their maths.
Just the end of the war.
Yeah. Really? Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yes, the end of the war, 1945, April 1945.
Which makes you now 78.
78 and a bit.
And, and quite a bit.
Yeah.
What's your first memories in Ireland?
My first memories in Ireland would be probably when I was about 7 or 8 years of age.
Really? That's the first time you remember something back then?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was just after, in the 50s. You were born into what number? We've got to tell them the full story. What number child are you?
I am number 8.
Of?
9, 10, 12 of us.
12 total.
12, 7 boys and 5 girls.
And you were
5.
number...
Is that right? 5? Yeah, 5 girls.
You have so many brothers and sisters, you have no clue how many there are.
5.
So there was 12 of you, and you were number 8.
I was number 8.
So you were just after the middle.
After the middle, completely. On the tail end, there was 4 of us.
When you were born, how old was your oldest brother? Was Jack?
Yes.
How old was he when you were born?
He would have been, if he was alive now, 92.
So he was 14. So he was still living at home.
He was still living at home.
So was there a period where all 12 of you were living at home?
Yeah, when we were in Ireland.
What was that like?
It was good fun. It was really good fun. We had, the boys were in one room,
Yeah.
bedroom that is. So there was 7 boys in one bedroom. And the bedroom was no bigger than a normal bedroom here in England.
Wow.
So they had to have beds that would fold up
Really?
in the morning.
Not bunk beds.
Not bunk beds, just
Had
fold
bunk
beds.
bunk beds surely had been invented.
I don't think they had, because no, I'm sure they hadn't.
Really?
Yeah, and then we had four girls, and 4 girls slept in one bed.
Where was the 5th girl?
The 5th girl was Pamela, who was the baby, and she was with Mum and Dad in their bedroom.
So you lived in basically a 3-bedroom house.
A 3-bedroom house. My father was in the army. He was in the band, number 3 band, Irish Army band.
Right.
And he and Mum and Pamela slept in that one bedroom.
Until how old was she when she stopped sleeping there?
Well, I guess she would be about 3 or 4 even. Yeah, because we moved from... My father retired from the army when he was 55. So we then moved out of the quarters and we moved into a little town called Newbridge.
Right.
So we then had a house with maybe 5 bedrooms then.
Oh, so you're posh.
We were really posh then. A rental house. It was lovely. It was in the back street of Newbridge. And not even when we moved, Jack, the eldest one, had got married.
Right.
So he came and lived with us, with his wife.
Geez, you'd only just moved out of a 3-bedroom house
I know.
into more space and he started bringing people home.
Yeah, we did. They all wanted to stay with us. And Pamela I would be about 8 when we left there.
Right.
And Pam, well, that's wrong. I must have been older. Because Pam's 8 years younger than me.
Right.
So I must have been older than 8. I must have been about 10. She was still a baby, so she was still
Incredible.
maybe 18 months, 2. That would be about right. So I would be 10.
And when you were a teenager, your mum and dad decided that there was enough in Ireland.
There wasn't enough in Ireland for a big family to earn to keep us all. So we moved to England. And that's when I was 12.
Why did they choose to come to York?
We had friends in York who used to live in Ireland, and Mum and Dad kept in touch with them. So we came to York. They lived in York, and they got us a house, a big house again, 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms. So we moved into that.
All 12 of you, plus them, plus Jack and his wife.
No, by then Jack and his wife had got their own
Right.
place. He went to live in Cork, actually. He was, I think he went into the army. Yeah, I think he went into the army, and they were in Cork with them. They'd then, by then, got a child.
Oof. Did you ever ask your mum and dad why they had so many children?
Oh yeah, I asked my dad many a time. We all asked my dad. My dad was a bit of a joker. And he'd say, well, I had to go away to Dublin, which he did. He had to go to Dublin with his work, with his band.
Yeah.
And there was nothing else to do. There was no television, there was only radio, so
So he had children instead?
children instead.
That was his reasoning, was it?
Absolutely. So every 2 years, there was a child, another one.
I mean, that's the thing. Your mum was pregnant or just delivered for over 20 years of her life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, Pamela was the last one, and she actually had Pam when she was 46.
Wow. And how old was she when she had Jack then?
Well, I suppose if you work it out.
20s or late teens?
Early 20,
20s.
I say.
So she spent from her early 20s to her mid 40s having children.
Exactly.
So she never worked?
No, she didn't work. She only worked when we came to England. By then we were all grown up. Well, we were at school. 4 of us at school, and the rest were working, got jobs. And
how did they take care of you if your mum was always pregnant or recovering from pregnancy?
Well, when you have a family like ours, the age difference, like 12 of us, so the 4 older ones, then there was 4 middle ones, and we were the end. Everybody looked after each other.
I guess, yeah, by the time you guys were coming up, those 4 older ones were starting to earn, and
Exactly.
did she charge them rent, did she? Or did
think
she just
must
take
have
all their
done.
salaries?
No, she took most of the salary. She did.
For them to stay in the house?
To stay in the house, rent, you had to earn your keep.
Yeah, I've heard you say
your
that a
keep.
few times.
Yeah, but you don't do it, but never mind.
So that must have been if you came to England when you were 12, you must have soon started working as well.
No, I went to school. I was in school until I was 15.
Right.
And then I worked. And by then we were moving again into another house
Geez, you don't like to sit still.
in York. And at the back of the house was a bakery. And most of the boys, the family, worked in the bakery, including me. So we were all working by then. And also my mother, she was working cleaning.
Wow.
And yeah, we all worked and gave money, and
Had lots of fun living in the same house still.
we had a lot of fun.
Were you all best friends?
Yeah.
And you are still now?
And we are still now. We're very fortunate that we all look after one another. We've got 8 of us left.
Yeah. There's
4
still...
boys and 4 girls left now.
And the eldest just turned 90.
The eldest one now is 90, and then I've got a sister, Joan, who is the eldest sister. She's 84.
So growing up in York, tell us about growing up in York a bit.
Right. Growing up in York was quite interesting. We went to a Catholic school, St Wilfrid's, and we used to walk to school, unlike all the children nowadays. We walked to school wherever we were living, we all walked together. Parts of you forget half of your growing up, really. You forget the... My dad, my mother was very, very strict indeed.
In what ways?
In that we had time limits in curfew, had to be home by 6 o'clock. We had to go to church every Sunday. And, up to an age of 18, you weren't allowed out after 8 o'clock.
Really?
And
what if you broke her rules?
Why did I?
Probably.
Yes, we did break the rules. I think we all broke the rules. I used to go out of the back window to go to a disco.
Here we go.
Yeah. So, Maureen, my sister, who died about 10 years ago, bless her.
Yeah.
Her and I were really, really close. So you could say best friends. And
so she was jumping out the windows with you, was she?
We used to go out. We used to go ice skating or roller skating. Where we got the money from, God only knows, but we went.
How did you get money? Was money hard to get?
Oh, absolutely. I can't ever remember having pocket money when I was younger. Ever.
So what did you do to make things work? How did you do things that didn't cost money, or?
Well, yes. I'm saying we didn't have pocket money. Maybe we got 4pence a week.
Right.
Which would be enough to go to the cinema.
Right.
And maybe she'd buy us sweets or something, but...
She being your mum?
Being my mother. We didn't really have much money then.
Did you know that you didn't have much money?
Oh, we weren't aware of it because, my mum and dad looked after us so well.
So it didn't really matter?
It didn't matter. And then, even when we moved to York, we were playing outside with other children. We were in the street, riding up and down on bikes.
Did they buy you one bike to share between the 12 of you?
Well, yes. Well, that's another story. I asked for a scooter. I loved scooters and I loved rollerblades, not blades, skates.
Roller skates.
Yeah. I love doing that. So I asked for a scooter when we were in Ireland on the last sort of Christmas in Ireland. And I got a scooter, but we had to share it.
So did your older brothers and sisters take it off you?
Well, yes, we all had turns on it. And it was acceptable, completely acceptable. And then when we got to England, I got my roller skates. But then the roller skates were okay. I could have roller skates. We had a little bit more money.
Roller skates are harder to share because you need the right size foot.
Well, exactly, yeah. Well, no, the roller skates, you could adjust them.
There were those adjustable ones that you go in your shoes. Yeah.
So, no, they were mine. And and then when I was 13 and 14, I got a paper round.
Right.
And I used to deliver papers, and I think I got about 2 and 6 a week for delivering papers.
2 and 6 pence.
2 and 6 pence. You know how much 2 and 6 pence is?
I actually don't, Mum.
You don't. 2 shillings. Do you know what? 12 pence.
Wow.
Right? And 6 pence. So 12 pence and 6 pence.
Really? So 18 pence a week. And what would you have to do? Deliver papers every day?
Deliver papers every evening, just in the evening. And I gave the money to my mother.
All of it?
Yeah.
Did you have to?
She took it off me.
You don't sound happy about that.
No, but then again, saying that, she did take it off me. But she gave us back in that we had to have school dinners. She had to pay for the school dinners.
Yeah.
And that was the shilling each. And then on a Saturday, we used to go roller skating. She paid for the roller skating on a Saturday. So it came out with the money that we gave her.
Is that why your love for roller skating started then? That's why when you were 65, you were in Marbella rollerblading?
No, it was in Dubai when we were
That's true, when you started rollerblading. Do you think that's where it came from?
Of course it did. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about, did you play sports in school?
Not really. We weren't
wasn't any.
encouraged not to play. No. I didn't actually like sports in school either.
Did you like school?
I loved school. I absolutely loved being at school. When I left, I was so upset. So upset.
You said you left when you were 15.
We left when we were 15, yeah.
And you didn't want to?
Didn't want to leave school. I felt lost when I left school. I loved wearing a uniform. Not many kids do, but I loved wearing the uniform. Yeah, it was hard.
So then you got the job at the bakery.
And then I went to
And the paper round.
No, the paper round was in Union Terrace when we first came,
Right.
where we first came to. And then we lived in Lawrence Street in York. And that's where the bakery was, at the back of us. Bakery called Whittaker's.
So you left school and worked at the bakery.
Yes.
Can you remember having an outlook as to sort of what you were going to do? Or was it very short term that, okay, I'm in the bakery now and you don't think about next year?
No, I had an outlook that I was going to work on the buses.
Right.
I was going to be a clippy, as they call them.
What's a clippy?
A bus conductor.
Right.
Res. I was a bus conductress. Giving out tickets and ringing the bell and letting people on and off the bus. And I then took that job when I was 18.
Why did you want to do that?
Well, my best friend from school, Chris Castle then, who is now Chris Rushton, she was working on the buses. So she said, come along, we'll have great fun. And my God, we had fun. We had the best. I mean, I could relive my life completely.
What was so fun about it?
Well, it was just the people, the guys. We had a group of friends that we used to go out with socially. And we just had such a good time.
That's nice, huh?
Such a good time.
It's good to do a job that you actually look forward to.
Oh, I mean, the times, early mornings, 5 o'clock in the morning, we had to be at work for 6.
That's late, Mum.
Oh, to me it wasn't. And then work weekends, when everybody else was going out drinking down the town, and we were working, taking people down to the pubs and stuff like that. That wasn't fun. But you know, it was a really interesting time. And then, of course, I went to Australia and lived in Australia for 3 years.
What made you go to Australia?
Because my best friend went.
She went to get away from you and you just followed her.
My best friend got married, and then she said, and I was going out with a guy as well who went to Australia. So Chris said, why don't you come to Australia? Go work with her on the buses. She gets married, and she then says, come to Australia.
So you went to Australia?
I went to Australia.
How did you get there?
I got there on an aeroplane. It took 28 hours to get there.
What year was that? That must have been about
69.
Yeah. Wow.
69, and paid £10.
You paid £10 to get a flight in 1969.
And you had to stay there for 3 years. And if you didn't stay there for 3 years, you had to pay them back.
The £10?
No, the price of the flight.
Ah, so they subsidised it.
Yeah.
And you went to a job, or you went just on a whim?
I went on a whim, and then I worked again in a shoe factory in Lilydale. I went to Melbourne, living in Melbourne in a place called Moralbark. And used to get the train down to Lilydale. And worked in a shoe factory. I was on the dispatch side in the shoe factory, making up orders and...
And you did that for 3 years?
I did that for 3 years, and my father died. And I came back to York when my father died.
Because he died?
Yeah, well, yeah, because he died. I didn't get back for his funeral. And yeah, so I came back just after he died to be with my mum.
Did she ask you to come back?
No, she didn't ask me to come back. In fact, when I was going to Australia, she said, never ever come back again. She didn't want me to go.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Don't come back. Okay. So, yeah, so I came back to York, and then that's when I met your father.
Where did you meet him?
At a disco.
At a disco?
Yeah. Not the Cat's Whiskers, one down... Oh God, I can't even remember the name of it.
Is it still there?
Yes.
And it's still a disco?
And it's still a disco.
You guys should go. They might let you in.
I don't think they'd let us in, quite honestly. But, yeah, so...
So what are we now? We're in about the early 70s.
73. I came back to York.
And then you guys moved to London.
Yeah, your dad was actually working in London. And he used to come up to York. He had a house in York. So he used to come up to York probably every other weekend. And sometimes he'd stay in York over the time, you know, a week at a time, and work from home. And then he bought a house down in Harrow, and we moved down there. I moved down there with him. By then, I had Claire.
In 1970...
75, Claire was born. So we moved down there. And yeah, we liked it. I thought it was going to be hard to move away from York and move away from family, because of course all my family were here in York.
Yeah. You'd already left them once though.
But absolutely. I did the big break when I went to Australia. And when I came back from Australia, it was hard to fit back into what I'd been doing.
Do you ever think how things might have been different if you didn't go to Australia?
Yeah, I do actually, because I've seen, you know, the people that I left behind were doing exactly the same things, and a bit naive, quite honestly. I felt I'd grown up quite a lot. Although I was 25 when I went, I felt like I'd grown up quite a lot.
Yeah, well, you saw more than just York,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I mean, I loved living in Australia. I loved the 3 years that I did there. And I guess if it hadn't been for the fact that I'd met your dad, I would have gone back.
Would you? You just came back and saw your mum and then you were ready to go again?
Yeah, I was giving it a year or so. And
Why didn't you take that guy down there with you? He didn't want to go.
well, no, because he was in a situation, he was area manager of, you know, what he was doing. He was working for a company called Sterling Winthrop, and he was area manager, so he was in a good job. And he wasn't really interested in going to Australia. And I suppose when I met him, I was fine being in the UK with him.
Yeah, right.
And we'd moved to London, so I broke that tie with York and then made some really good friends down there.
Yeah.
So, you know, life changes, doesn't it?
And in 1978, some other guy showed
And
up.
then in 1978, I got the fright of my life.
Thanks, Mum.
I got the biggest fright of my life. I had a little girl who was very, very, very calm. And then I got this guy. I mean, he was £8.9 and they said to me after I'd had him, "That's you. Mrs. Smith, I think you should not think about having any more children," because I had 2 really bad births, actually. And then I didn't have any more.
You were small then as well. I mean, you've been small your whole life.
When
so
they said you've got a small pelvis and it's pretty hard for you, so that's really why. And I didn't want any more anyway. I got my girl and boy, and that was it. So yeah, so Marcus came along after having a very quiet girl. I got this boy who started walking far too early. He started walking when he was like 9 months old.
I was getting ready to run.
He looked as if he was going to run. I kept thinking he's going to fall any time now. Yeah, so, and then of course tumbling, and he was rough and good fun though, good fun.
A couple of years after I was born, Dad obviously went to work away.
We were in Harrow. You were born in Ickenham. We moved to Ickenham from Harrow, West London, and your dad got the opportunity of working in the Middle East, Jeddah. So off we went to Jeddah, and no, that was before we got married. He went to Jeddah.
Okay.
Or was it? Yes, because I had 2 children in Harrow, in Ickenham. And then after we were in Ickenham, I think we were in Ickenham for about 4 years, because you were born in Ickenham. He got an offer. He worked for a company called Murray Clark and Jones in Henley, and he was travelling in the Middle East. And the guy who he worked for said he'd been talking to a guy in Dubai, and he was interested in him working for your dad, working for him, and he got hold of your dad, and the guy came to our house to interview your dad and offered him a job.
What was your immediate reaction when he said,
Oh my God, I can't do it. I wouldn't. I got the shock of my life. I said, it was like I've got to say yes in the next couple of days to this job. And I suppose the weather in the UK, like the weather in the UK is, the summer was not a very good summer, and your dad loved barbecuing in the summer, and he used to have to put the barbecue in the garage. So he said, look, we'd be able to barbecue, you'd be able to go to the beach, you'd be able to do this, it'll be fine, and you'll have people looking after you. But still, I just said, okay, we'll go, but we're only going for 2 years. We're not going for any longer. And of course, every year I used to think, oh, we'll go home next year, we'll go back next year. I still wanted to come back to England. We still had a house we'd rented out. And, you know, the neighbourhood was really, really good. When your dad used to go away, people looked after each other. And then all of a sudden, I started settling in. 2 years later, I started settling into Dubai. And there we were for 20 years till your father...
What was it like when you arrived there in 1983? I think...
I arrived with 2 children, 2 small children. And I'll never forget your face. You saw the policeman with a gun. And you went behind me. You hid behind me, taking into the fact that you were only 4 years of age. Mummy, why has that man got the gun? Is he going to shoot me? Yeah, we found it very, very frightening to see the police going around at the airport with rifles. Then we landed in Dubai probably, it would be about 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And the secretary of the guy of Wafiq was the guy's name, who Dad was going to work for. She picked us up at the airport and she took us to the Trade Centre apartments, and we were right at the top of I think it was B block we were in. No, C block we were in. And she brought some tea bags. We only had 1 case with all our stuff in. The rest was coming via shipping. She bought some milk, I think, and that's all we had when we got there, Suzanne. And then the next day, of course, we went to the supermarket and did a bit of shopping. She picked us up and showed us around what there was of Dubai.
What were your first, because it's interesting when you arrive in a place at night, you don't see anything, and then you go out in the day and had a look around. January of 1983, as you said, with 2 children.
Yeah, we were in the middle of the desert, weren't we? There was just a block of 4, and that was off the Sheikh Zayed Road. And I mean, the Sheikh Zayed Road was just a carriageway. One way there and one way back. And across that road was the desert again.
Yeah.
So, you know, we were in the middle of nowhere. And I mean, that was okay, because we're in the apartments, we had a club, we had a swimming pool, and, you know, you could stay there and live there quite happily because you think you're in a hotel.
So outside of the complex was empty and
It was
a bit eerie, but inside it was
inside
okay.
it was lovely, and we met some really nice people. But I mean, it was quite hard because we lived in the apartments only for 2 years, and in that 2 years, people were in transit, moving away and moving out, sort of into houses in Dubai, in Jumeirah, and we were left there on our own. So your dad then said, right, I'm fed up of living in these apartments. It's time to look for a house.
And then you probably knew that you were staying.
And then that was it. We were going to stay. We moved to Safa Park. Across from Safa Park, we moved into a nice house there. Again, we had a swimming pool. And even then, when we moved there, that was maybe the end of Dubai as far as we were concerned, because it was desert all the way round.
When you came back to the UK, or you brought us back to the UK in summertime, people maybe spoke to you about what's Dubai. How did you explain where you lived? Because then people, I think for the first few years, no one really came to visit. So people, and what was the contrast of living in Dubai and then coming back to England?
Well, coming back to England, we'd rented our house out, hadn't we? So we had to stay with people. Now, that was quite hard. And people didn't know Dubai then either.
No.
Everybody used to say, oh, what's it like living in Saudi? Saudi? I've never lived in Saudi. You know, they didn't understand, no idea Dubai existed.
So no one really knew where you lived?
Nobody knew where we lived. Even family used to say, how is Saudi?
How did your mum react?
My mum was fine. My mum was fine because we'd lived down in London, and, you know, she had the rest of her family in York, and by then, I mean, mum got older. No, she was fine with the move. And, I mean, I used to stay with her, but by then she'd moved, my father had died, so she'd moved into a one-bedroom flat. So we couldn't really stay there, so I stayed with my sister Joan, and you and Claire, and a big suitcase with all our stuff for 6 weeks at Joan's house, which was like a very, very small bedroom.
Poor Joan.
No, poor us.
Poor Joan as well.
I lived out of the back of my car with clothes for you guys for 6 weeks.
Was it hard, Mum, living in Dubai and coming back here? Did life feel harder than the UK or easier?
It was hard at first, and then it was. We didn't have a home here. We had a home, but it was rented out. And we were staying with people. Now that was hard for us, and we had a home in Dubai. So we were always very, very happy to get back to Dubai. You know, again, I suppose it was another journey that we were on.
Is that how you saw it?
Yeah, and you guys were happy in school. I mean, you'd settled into school, and, well, you were in nursery, and Claire was in school, and you'd made friends and everything, and I'd made my friends in Dubai. And it's like everywhere, you know, when you move away from a place, people forget about you. So
still now.
Even now, yeah, it is. It's quite different. I think now we're settling back in York. But yeah.
Is that hard?
No, not now. No, because again, another journey, because we did 20, when we left Dubai, we did 20 years in Spain. So we're coming, and we always had a place in York.
Yeah.
So to come back to York, to our own home, was easy for us. And then again, family, I'm very fortunate that I've got a family here in York, and brothers and sisters of my sort of age, generation, if you like. And as you say, we get on so well together. So that was easy, but I did lose a lot of friends here in York. And I lost them when I went to Australia.
That's the way it goes, though, when you move.
Well, I think your people, well, people in general, they forget, like I've said to you, they forget that you're around.
Right, if you're not around, it's easy.
Yeah, exactly. So, and yeah, no, coming back after 20 years in Spain, and I arrived back here in York to find out I got cancer. So I have no choice but to be here.
Yeah.
And very fortunate that I was here at the time of having it.
Yeah, because of the care.
The care I've had, they've just been absolutely amazing. It's been a rough time, but I just pray to God that I'm going to be well.
Let's go back to a little bit of the life in Dubai. For my memory, a lot of your life, and therefore my life, was based around people, community, and with those communities, it was always related to sport, whether it was your Jane Fonda aerobics class, or whether it was your running group, your dad's running group, or dad's cycling group. Did you do that on purpose, or?
Well, I suppose we were. Your dad was a runner. I started running after I'd had you. And that I was 33 when I had you. And I couldn't lose the baby weight. You know, it didn't fall off me as quickly as it had fallen off me with Claire. So I thought, I've got to do something. And your dad was away. And I had a pair of plimsolls. Or tackies, as they call them.
Yeah, tackies.
And I put those on one evening. I got you and Claire into bed sleeping, and it was a summer evening, and I thought, we were nicking them, and I thought, right, I'm going to try this running. Your dad was away for 3 weeks. So I said to my friend Karen next door but one, can you just keep an eye on Marcus and Claire? I'm going out for a run. And she came in and she sat and watched TV in our house. And I got back half an hour later, and I thought, I don't mind this running. But I tell you, the next morning, my calves were so sore, I couldn't walk up the stairs. I was in agony. But I wasn't going to be defeated. That night, again, I went out for a run.
2 nights in a row?
Yep.
Wow.
And he'd been away for a week before I started this, and then 2 weeks later he came back, and I've been running nearly every day. And he said, well, we better go and buy you a pair of proper shoes.
Wow, and that was it?
And that was it. I started running then. And then, of course, when we went to Dubai, I used to be in all the races winning, because there wasn't many people then to compete with that much. And I was probably the only lady that ran like I did.
Did you enjoy it?
I loved running. It was so easy to get up and go for a run. And particularly where we lived actually at the trade centre, it was nice out where we were running out of the desert and around by Sheikh Mohammed's palace. We were able to run around there. It was free. And I used to run with the boys.
Faster than most of them, which they didn't like.
I used to run on a Thursday, which was the weekend. We had a group of, friends who used to come. We used to meet up and we'd go running. And I used to run with them. I was the only woman that was running with them as well. And that continued for quite a few years. Moved to Safford Park. And I was running around Safford Park with, around Jumeirah. And then I was doing races. Whenever the races came up, I won sofas, I won trophies.
Maybe you won a camera once.
And absolutely, I won lots of things. And I'll never forget when we were, I think Claire must have been at school here in the UK by then. But anyway, she wasn't with us. You were with me. And Auntie Phyllis and Nisha were in Dubai. And the run that we were doing was from the Sheraton in Deira along the creek there. And when I came in, I got this cup, winning cup. And you were so excited about it. You took the cup off me and you were running around with the cup. And then I got into aerobics, my fitness, and did a course with Nargis Vickery then, and started teaching aerobics.
You continued to run till you were 60.
Oh my goodness, I must have been
mid to late 60s.
It'd be about. I was having trouble with my knees.
Yeah.
I would say, 60, 17, 18. Yeah, because I was running in Spain as well.
My question here, Mum, is as you obviously spend a lot of time running and doing fitness when you're younger, but you come to a point where you can no longer do something that you enjoyed doing and because you had trouble with your knees. And I actually have some videos of when you ran with me a little bit during my marathons in 2018. I think that's the last time I really remember you.
Well, I used to run at your old gym, or even at your gym around I was running there. I was then running.
How do you deal with when that
time comes
taken from you?
Very, very hard. It is really, really hard. I think that's when now I walk. I still feel I would love to run. At first, when I started walking, I felt I can still run. And I used to try and run. And then, of course, my knee, I had to have another op on my knee, didn't I? And I thought, well, I'll have to stop running. And I just had to stop. But I found the walking boring. And I have to say, it is harder to go out for a walk than it is to go out for a run.
Why is that?
I don't know, because I think it's because inside you, you know you've been able to do a run, and maybe I got around quicker running than I do walking.
Well, I hope you did.
Well, I did. So I think that's the hard part. And then, of course, I had to stop exercising. And that's been quite difficult as well. But, you know, I've had good memories about what I've done
Sports.
in the sport, but, you know, I've got you two who are you're very fit. Claire's fit. Claire goes to the gym 3 times or 4 times a week.
A year.
A year. And I think having parents like us who, I mean, we were always into fitness as you guys were children, and you've always been around that. And, you know, you have particularly used your fitness, which we're very, very proud of. And Claire too, give it to her. She's really worked hard.
But I think that's I'm sure, and a lot of people ask me how I started running, and I tell them, you know, of the story that you just told of, you know, when you used to have a group running on a Thursday, and I remember I would know...
You used to come with me.
Yeah, I'd come with you when I could, or I'd know the route you were coming back and the approximate time, and I'd run out and try and run back the last few hundred meters. And I mean, it's the environment that you create, right?
Exactly.
Claire was 12 and I was 9 when she left the house in Dubai to come to the UK to boarding school.
Claire was 11 and a half.
11 and a half, yeah, because it was in September.
Yeah. And
What made you, I don't know if send her to boarding school is the right phrase, but how did you come to the decision that it was a good idea to send her 3,000 miles on an aeroplane back to the UK?
Well, because then there was only, not like it is now, you've got so many schools in Dubai. There wasn't a great choice in secondary. There was only one, which was Dubai College. And it wasn't particularly good.
Right.
And because we were in a situation with your father's work, that the company paid for the education. So neither of us, your dad and I, had the opportunity to be educated to the standard that we could give you. So we decided that, you know, most of the children from school, a lot of the children from school, were coming back to the UK then. So we said, okay, let's try it. And I honestly, for the life of me, I didn't think for 1 minute that Claire would have settled in as quickly as she did. You were the problem.
Why was I a problem, Mum?
You didn't like coming back to the UK. You wanted to, and you bugged us like mad. Well, Claire's there, why can't I go? So we came back and we had a look at the schools, and we wanted you both to be close to family. So we chose 2 schools for you. She went to Queen Margaret's and you went to Terrington's, so it was easy for family to pick you up or even for us to come and get you at half term, or when you had exeats for the family to, Brad and Chris to look after you. And yeah, but...
Was it hard?
I found it very hard when both of you were at boarding school. I found it particularly hard. I had a great friend, Frankie Ross Smith, living in Dubai then, and her two went to boarding school. And I used to drive around in my car to her, or we'd go running together, and I was quite... I used to cry, tears. I missed you so much. And then, of course, you, when you were going back, oh my goodness me, that was really hard. You didn't want to be in Terrington. You found Terrington very, very hard. And quite honestly, if I'd have had my own way, you would have come back to Dubai. But your dad said it was good for you. You were good. You were a good runner then, and he just wanted you to be in England, be educated in England.
I need to get him in here and ask him.
No, honestly, it was... I remember one time going to the airport. Now, Claire was very, very lucky that there was 4 of them from QM.
Yeah, from her school.
From her school. So she had an older girl who used to travel up and back with them. So she was in that situation. She didn't flinch when she used to go, when we took her to the airport. But you just didn't want to go back to Terrington. You were all right for the first couple of terms. And then you just started, when you came back, you used to cry a lot. I don't want to go back. I don't like being there. And I used to have to sleep with you on the last couple of nights of you going back to school.
Why do you think I was like that?
I think because of where you were. Maybe the school was good. I liked the school. It was a small school, but I think you lost your freedom. I think that you weren't allowed. You were in a little village. You had a tuck shop, a little shop, sweet shop, across the road from the school, and you weren't allowed to go there. Only maybe on a Saturday. But I think you just felt you lost your freedom. Because you were, I don't know, you were so out, I suppose living where we were in Dubai, you were so outgoing.
Were you worried that I'd lose that?
Yeah.
Did I?
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I mean, when you used to come back to Dubai, when you were there, in the holiday time and everything, you go back into your old ways. I mean, you used to go to the beach club and you were off on your own with your friends and picked up where you were. And you were okay with that, but it was just that I think Terrington didn't suit you. You went on to
Worksop.
I think by then you'd probably grown up a bit. I remember one of the teachers at Terrington saying to me that you were very immature for your age.
I'm happy with that. I hope he's still saying it. Yeah, it was hard, huh?
Yeah, it was really hard. It was hard to see you there as well. But when you went to Worksop, I think you changed then because you were 13, you're a teenager, you got a bit of freedom. I mean...
Yeah, they let me call you.
Exactly.
I mean, we used to write letters, right?
Yeah.
When I was in Terrington. And
Terrington, I used to speak to you.
You only, I actually remember when they started letting you call me at Terrington, it was during the Gulf War.
Yes.
And it was a special almost allowance that
Yes, yeah.
because you were because the Gulf War was on, that you're allowed to call me every few weeks.
Yeah.
But before that, we would only write letters, and I couldn't read your handwriting, and I couldn't write very well, so we're a bit snookered.
The communication was not that good.
I definitely couldn't read Dad's, so I think in the
Yeah, but when Bren and Chris used to pick you up on Expat, you were able to talk to me on the phone.
Yeah,
and then you used to cry, I want to come home, Mummy.
It was hard.
It was really hard for you.
I wouldn't change it.
No, well, you know, I mean, that's the good thing. I mean, you made some very, very close friends at Terrington as well. The Turners looked after you.
Yeah, and I'm still in touch with them now.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, that's life, isn't it, really? Character building and everything.
I think one thing that comes through our whole conversation is that life is in all the stages that you've explained, Mum, from when you were 12 in a house to when you moved to a house of 3 rooms, to when you moved to a house of 5, to when you moved to York and worked for 2 and 6pence, to when you went to Australia. Everything that you did, there was an element of hardship in it, but you always prevail.
Yes.
Why is that? How have you ever thought about it like that? Like, you've had some tough situations.
I think when you have tough situations and you pull through, I think I've always been I've always had a bit of fight inside me. And I think that being one of a large family, that you had to look after yourself. And I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I think being in control of your own self.
Yeah, I mean, to hop on a plane, okay, your friend's in Australia, but to hop on a plane, you've taken you've taken your life into your own hands, haven't you?
My brother, by the way, my brother was there, also my eldest brother. So I did have family there as well. But yeah, Chris was there.
But one thing I also noticed through what you've said, and also if I think about what you've said and reflect that in the life, you make a lot of effort with people, with your family, number one. You're always talking to them, and also with the communities or groups that you're part of. And the more that you were talking there as well, like I think from when you arrived in Dubai to the groups that you had, to when you were in Spain, to the groups that you had. So those connection with family and connection with others in small communities, often related to sport or always related to sport, I think, has really helped you.
Yeah, I think that's actually, you know, you've got something that you can give.
What do you give?
I give a lot of purpose to people. I think I've made lots of different people. I met lots of different people in my life, and I've made a lot of friends.
Yeah.
And I can give them happiness, and they could give me happiness, and they have.
I think one thing you always give people is time.
I think you have, yeah. I think you've got to work at friendships. And I think living in Dubai taught me a lot. I think when you're living in a foreign country, you meet people that become your family.
Yeah, absolutely.
and you treat them like family and they treat you like family.
Do you think that's because you were living in Dubai, or do you think that's because you came from such a strong family?
No, I think it's part of living as an expat, quite honestly. And maybe even it could have a lot to do with
I think it's both
the
ways.
family, yeah. I think the family that how I was brought up.
Yeah, I think if you're brought up 12 people plus 2 parents in a 3-bedroom house, 7 boys in one room, 5 girls in the other, or 4 girls in the other,
and the baby
in with I think it teaches you some pretty powerful values that when you're in an environment that you have to create connection for survival, like you had to in Dubai, then you might not recognize it as a skill, but it automatically comes to the front. Everyone should be one of 12 then.
I'm sure there are lots of people end up in a similar situation.
I wonder. There's still lots of people moving to Dubai. It's interesting.
Okay, well.
We've chatted for over an hour, Mum, and I'm not sure if it's raining or not, but we need to go and get some things for dinner.
We've got to look in the fridge first and sort out, and then we've got to go and buy your dad some vitamin tablets to
help
sort
his
nails out.
Well, we better stop recording. We better stop chatting. But I'm sure what you've said and the way that you've said it hopefully helps some people. Hopefully helps you. Hopefully helps me. And this is your first interview with a mic and a camera.
I know.
Are you sweating?
I'm with my boy.
You're in your studio at home. Maybe we should do another one. Do you enjoy that?
It was quite fun.
Good.
It was quite nice. It was nice to tell you my life story, really.
Yeah, that's good. Maybe we'll get you back and we'll do it again.
And I'm very happy I've got 2 very, very lovely children.
Thank you, Mum.
And very supportive.
Happy that you've got a
very
good mother.
Very supportive.
Good. Mum,
love you.
Thank you. From everyone that listens to the show, that supports you, I'm sure they'll be very thankful as well.
We'll see.